could tell somebody, oh, it's the best, it's the most exciting thing ever, but it's not until you actually come and you actually experience it and you actually hear the noises, you smell the smells, you see how fast they are.
I would say it's a great sport. It's a hugely exciting sport. You know, it's one of the purest forms of motorsport, if you ask me. The fact that you can get so close to it. You know, I've been to Grand Prix and everything, and you're miles away and you don't really know what's happening. You know, with Speedway, you see it there. It's very quick.
It's fast. It's exciting. It's dangerous. You'll get entertained.
Speedway for me is a term that you hear mentioned sometimes within the sport, gladiatorial, and I think it is truly gladiatorial because, you know, here you are, you have two representatives from each team in each race with the helmet on and the goggles and the visors and the colourful leathers and the body colours that identify them as, you know, team 1 versus team 2. You know, the speed, the noise, the danger, how close the guys race together. Sometimes there's physicality as well.
Pretty tight, and you know, you're all heading for the same place, so it's always, you know, a bit of bumping.
There's crashes, and as a child when you watch Speedway, I admit to enjoying seeing some crashes when I was younger. When you get a bit older and you get to appreciate the risks and the real dangers, and you get to know some of the riders, the last thing you want to see on track is a crash.
Other clubs are now realising what we do at Glasgow, and they're having to change their philosophy, because all it was a race. You waited a couple of minutes, you got another race, and then another race, and another race.
You know, essentially Speedway is 15 races that last a minute each. It's 15 minutes worth of entertainment. So if you're expecting someone to come along and pay their hard-earned money to come to watch that, then you need to make more of a spectacle about it. You need to have, you know, other things to keep other people entertained, whether it be kids or older people or something. You have to make it more of an event and more of a night, and something that, you know, you can come to the Speedway and enjoy a whole night, and it's not just purely about the race and the race and the race.
People who aren't in it sometimes look on it as a bit of a poor man's sport, a bit of a geek kind of sport. A lot of clubs have disappeared over the last few years. You know, it's you know, miles away from where it was in its heyday. Speedway, but it's not a wealthy sport. You know, it's a sport that at the moment struggles to survive. Our initial investment was £3 million, which we are happy to give as a gift. You know, and we never invested in Speedway for it to make lots of money for us. You know, we're very fortunate we've got the business along the road in Allied that we do well from.
I'm Jerry Facena, one of the owners of Allied Vehicles. Manufacture cars, repair cars, and sell all over the world with products. The Speedway we bought 3 years ago, it was in difficulty along with the football club. My brother and I decided to buy the club, and we spent £3 million regenerating it into a lovely wee stadium. It was always the poor relation of the UK Speedway. It's one of the #1 clubs in the country.
It's come on leaps and bounds actually, because before the stadium was a wreck. Toilets were poor, food was poor, but since it's been taken over, actually, it's been absolutely first class.
For us, Speedway was about giving something back to the community. It was about saving Glasgow Tigers, which also meant that we saved Ashfield Junior Football Club that's been going over 100 years. And you know, we want the business to stand on its own 2 feet, and it's not. We're still losing, you know, 6 figures a year, and you know, whilst again, you know, we can afford to do that, we don't want to do that long term. It's not in our nature to lose money running any business.
I think when a lot of fans heard it last year, it was like, what can we do to help, really? And that's why they started this year, like pre-season, we were volunteering, helping them with like painting the ground and just doing anything Jerry wanted to get the season ready for him, because we love it, but you want other people to come and love it.
Well, today we've got nearly 40 volunteers turned up at the stadium. That's us got all the air fence just about up. I thought it would take us 2 days, but we've completed it all in a day. The track's just about ready now. Hopefully if we get dry weather, then we've got the last bit of material to put down the track, and then we'll be ready for the first race. We've got all the ladies in, painting the stand. Everything's starting to take shape for the beginning of the season.
This season we've got a guy, Luke Chessel, who has basically been out of the sport for 2 years. He took 1 year out through choice, and then he was due to come back last year, and he went away to America and had a really bad accident, days away from losing his leg. It was very severe, and he's back racing this year. We've got a guy, Kyle Bickley, this year as well. He's just turned 17, and to think, that when you see how fast they go, you're strapped to a rocket, you're going round a corner with no brakes, and you think, that guy's only 17, he's not even got a driver's licence yet, so...
Kyle Bickley, and I watched Kyle Bickley last season, which was his first season in the championship with Workington. 17 years of age. Kyle is a real confident young rider.
Kyle, for his second season in the championship, I wouldn't put him past being one of the best reserves in the league at the moment.
James Sargent is a lad that I really like. I have a lot of time for James. I really believe that James has got a bright future ahead, and he loves racing for Glasgow. Paul Stark, another rider I've got lots of time for, lots of experience. He's referred to as being in the engine room of the team, and he is. Klaus Vissing. Klaus brings lots of passion to the club. His fellow countryman, Rasmus Jensen, Rasmus is definitely a rider on the climb in terms of his scoring and his form generally.
Razor, he's brilliant this year. He's absolutely flying. And obviously you got Captain Cook. He's beyond believable in this league. He's really strong. It makes the team chemistry amazing.
Craig Cook was enemy number one as far as I was concerned. All those seasons of success with Edinburgh, if you'd said to me then that 4 or 5 years later Craig Cook would be wearing the number one race jacket of Glasgow Tigers, I wouldn't have believed you. But I'm so glad that he is, and what a difference that lad has made to the team.
First match today against Berwick, and pleased to say 4 hours before we open, most of the stands sold out. There were very few seats left online, the best online sales we've ever had, so it's all looking very good for tonight.
At any point in any race, something could happen. A guy could crash, 2 guys could crash together, there could be an engine failure, there could be anything. So there's always something that could always happen at any point.
The racing's so intense and everything's so close, you're making split-second decisions. So you don't really have time to think as such. You become accustomed to racing hard and fast. It becomes second nature. Your fight or flight senses kind of take over. It just kind of happens.
A second lap. I'm sure the Glasgow Tigers team manager, Cammy Brown, will be delighted.
Being based here in Postle Park is one of the most deprived areas of Scotland.
I mean, Postle Park area is a very hard area. The Fazena family's done very well for that area. They've got a lot of jobs. I think Allied Vehicles, which is just along the road from the stadium, they employ over 700 people, which is fantastic. What they've put back to that local area, you can't count it. You really can't. It's tremendous.
No, Postle Park for us, it's where the business is. It's where my father was born on Saracen Street and brought up here. So, we're passionate about this area. It does get a bad reputation, but one thing I would say about the people in this area, they look after each other, they look after their elderly. You know, I don't have any fear walking about in the streets. You know, I know at night it's not the nicest of place to walk down with shutters and everything, but there's some good people here as well. And, you know, for us, you know, we're proud of the fact that we're in Possil Park and we bring jobs here. And that was really an extension of that with the Speedway. It was to kind of give something back to the community, although it's one of the most deprived areas in Scotland, and it still is. You know, there's things afoot to raise the area up that we know are happening, which will be fantastic for the area.
Like many others, I had some reservations about it. As it's turned out, quite false reservations, you know, unfounded. I couldn't envisage Glasgow Speedway being anywhere else, quite frankly.
You know, you never know that you could be a future world champion here. You know, some of the things that the characteristics of what you need to be a Speedway rider is, you know, lack of fear and bravery. And, you know, around here, you're going to get people like that. Do you know what I mean? So
this is a 250cc made by GM. I get it serviced regularly. Under the covers, you've got this is the clutch arm that connects with the cable. So if I pull the clutch lever in like that, it will go through to the arm and it bring it in. This is a wee bit to turn your fuel on. That's your fuel pipes right there. Then of course your throttle cable. Allied vehicles, the stuff they've done for me. Obviously without them I wouldn't be out here right now doing this, so I just stick them in the covers. It's the least I can do really. That's the photo with me, my dad, two boys from Speedway, Blair and Gordon, and Cookie at Tetro, the GP last year. Great just to see like a Glasgow ride on the GPs. Then that's me, James Sargent. That's when he was riding at Coventry a couple of years ago, and that's obviously one of the teams that have thought not riding anymore. And they were a great team really, just go and watch. Certainly miss going to watch them. I used to like watching them. That's another race bib, just a thanks from Kyle Bickley. I like Kyle, he's really nice and he helps me a lot of things. So yeah, my dad helps a lot of riders really, well from Glasgow, mainly just Glasgow, and he helps them out with like pit mats and like just stuff to clean like their bikes with, and clutch plates and everything like that. That's a Glasgow race jacket from 2015. My dad got me that for my birthday one year. That was the first season I was going to Speedway. Then that is James Sargent's, it's from last season as well. I was having a joke with James, saying you better get me in a suit or I'm falling out with you basically. And basically I think he just put it on for a laugh because he had like a spare bit in his suit left. He just put Cooperman on, and ever since I've been in his Glasgow suit this year. I've got really bad dyslexia and dyspraxia. And with me riding, I think it's helped me in the classroom and out the classroom. Doesn't make anything different really. When you get out in the track, it's a level playing field, I think really. The school I go to, they give me so much help and support with my Speedway and extra support, even though I don't really like school. In the future, I still want to be involved with Speedway, even if it's riding, mechanicking, anything like that. I think mechanicking for James this season has helped me massively.
Fans, the atmosphere and the fans and all that sort of stuff. It's not like you get in football where you get opposition fans and all that. We have Edinburgh as our main rivals, and when they come, it's just banter, you know. You get people that come in here and have a wee drink together before it and joke about things, and if they beat us, they wind us up and we beat them, but there's nothing ever malicious or nothing really comes of it.
Oh, I feel same as everyone. I can feel on some of the guys up here that they want to win this one pretty good. Hopefully it'll be a good match.
In our league, there's 11 teams, including us. We have Edinburgh and we have Berwick. Then beyond that, you have teams from Newcastle all the way down to Eastbourne. It's kind of widespread across the UK.
Go to other stadiums, you see how far the Fazenda family's taken Glasgow Tigers, what they've changed, because before they got involved, Ashfield was pretty run down stadium, and makes you feel proud to be involved with Glasgow because we've got such a nice setup now, and you can see when other teams come to ride there, the riders are like, wow, this place is fantastic. I mean, wish our place was like this, and the Glasgow Tigers fans are at this moment in time, I think they're living in dreamland, because I'm still a fan and I still have to pinch myself sometimes walking into the stadium, and you think, wow, because I know the difference that it was prior to that.
The Tigers always take an extra step further with anything, they'll be thinking outside the box all times. Not a lot of clubs sort of take care of the promotion like they should.
One thing we tried to do, one thing that I certainly wanted to do was bring a professionalism into it when I started getting involved. That's why we do lots of things with the kids. We have a kids race, the Tiger mascot's really important to what we do at Glasgow. We've got start girls that do a dance just to add a bit of something in between races. Just trying to bring a bit of professionalism that's in other sports into Speedway as well, because I'm a firm believer that if riders feel part of that they will want to be part of that. I want people to ride for the badge. I want people to love coming to Glasgow and want to ride for Glasgow. And we're seeing that because, every winter, the phone's red hot with people wanting to come and ride for Glasgow.
The Tigers are in my heart, so it's my city, my club. All the supporters here feel like my family. You grow up with people and we've all got this emotional bond to our own club. Other supporters will have the same for their own clubs, of course.
So everyone just makes you feel welcome, and the riders play a big part in that as well. I think at Glasgow, a lot of riders say they want to race for Glasgow, and it's because the management, the club, the supporters, how well the management run it. Everyone feels the love at the Speedway, and especially at Glasgow.
The most professional club I've ridden for, and it speaks volumes. Obviously the Fasendas are very, very successful businessmen, and they run it as a business, and that's what they're trying to do with the Speedway as well. So they're kind of moving it forward into the future. I'm just thankful and very grateful I'm a part of Glasgow Tigers.
At Speedway, it's virtually always friendly, one big happy family. Honestly, it really is.
The Speedway fans are great, they're passionate about it, and they're passionate all over the country, and you see that whenever a rider gets injured, the Speedway fans, they gather around that rider, they fundraise, and it's great what they do. A couple of weeks ago, a week past on Sunday, unfortunately a rider, Sam Norris, got seriously injured in the British Youth Championship at Ashfield, and it's hit us all very, very hard. It's fair to say I went up to see Sam a few days after it, and that's something that will never leave me, when you think that boy's 15 years old and he's got his life ahead of him, to be injured in that way. At the moment it's still too early to say really what the long-term prognosis is, I suppose, but he's certainly very seriously injured and he's certainly going to have a long road back. As an example, the Speedway community's really gathered round that. We had a collection for Sam on Friday night at our last home meeting, and that raised over £3,700, which is a phenomenal amount. Other clubs up and down the country have done the same, £1,000 here, £600 there. There's a kind of fundraising Just Giving page that's almost at £9,000, I think. So it just shows you that the Speedway community really do get behind their riders and look after one another.
I mean, it's incredible actually that they got over £3,500 actually. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, you go out there, straight away, I mean, you could be badly injured. It's a dangerous sport. Always be injuries, bad injuries, deaths. I mean, it's just the nature of the sport. Cousin actually died in 1983 after an injury on the track when Michael Walsh was only 27, I think he was. But obviously I know from personal experience, obviously it's a dangerous sport. Michael was obviously fucking family, so that kind of hurt a lot actually. But, no, it's still love the sport, obviously. Just keep going.
When we came in, I looked up in the stand and there was a couple of guys just sitting drinking beer, and I asked one of the guys that was buying it, I said, "Who's that?" He says, "Oh, he's your number one Speedway fan. He lives in here. He does all the handy jobs and he'll just sit up there and he'll have a few cans of beer." So once we bought it, I met with him and he says, "Look, this is my club. I love this club." And he, tattoos in his arm, Glasgow Tigers. He said, "I want to help you doing this, build it up and get it into a good repair. I'm a joiner." So we said, "Well, that's fine, George. There'll be no drink in the stadium though. If you want to turn up, and as long as you don't let us down, then there's a place here for you to help us do that." And in fairness, every morning he was there at 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock every night working with me and my brother and all the rest of the guys doing it up. And after 3 months we took him on board as one of the maintenance guys for the company, for Allied. And he's been here the last 4 years.
Before they actually bought it, right, I mean, I was at the Speedway every week with my mate, and all we be runners come down, drinking beer all day and go home pissed. My life wasn't, right, it was okay, but I was kind of actually going off the rails of it. Jerry actually offered me a job in Allied. Been actually new with Allied since 2015, and I love it actually. It's a brilliant job. Changed me completely. Delighted to be actually with Allied now. Delighted.
I dread to think where George would be if we hadn't come in and he hadn't get involved in it, because I think he was a wee bit lost at the time, but he's a great guy.
We've done very well so far in the league, especially on the road away from home. I think Glasgow have had an exceptional season. We've had a lot of away wins, which is very hard to do. No matter how good or how bad your team is, it's a difficult thing to win away from home. But it's really the league that we really want. That's the trophy that all Glasgow fans want to do the best in. So that's what we're trying to achieve.
I think we could do very well this year. I really do. We've got a good bunch of guys there. We've got Craig Cook leading us, who's magnificent because he's the best rider in the league, bar none. So, if we can keep the guys fit and keep going, we don't fear any team.
Luke did come to us and say, obviously it wasn't working for him, and in turn it wasn't working for us as a management team and a Speedway team, and we agreed, but we wanted to try and help him, and we gave him the best we possibly could, and he's a lovely lad. I feel really, really heartbroken for him that he's not quite managed it. Where we are just now, what he was doing for us wasn't helping us with results. And now we're on the hunt for another rider at the moment.
Me and Peter are on good terms. I'm not falling out with him. He's helped me a lot. A lot. He didn't need to do the things he's done, and I appreciate that. If every other club done what Peter's done for me, for their riders, Speedway would be a whole different ball game.
I think Luke will come back one day and he'll get to that level where I know he can be. I hope to see Luke in Glasgow colours again one day, and that would be nice.
The hunger never dies, and once you've got it in your blood, you can't let go, and I can't let go at the moment. And yeah, it's going to be a long, hard winter again.
Once again, let's make him feel most welcome here in Glasgow. The Tornado himself, Conor Bailey.
I'm Conor Bailey. I'm an Australian rider who's come over to the UK to race for the Glasgow Tigers.
Conor Bailey, we haven't seen too much of him at time of this interview, but I think that lad's got something. He's literally only been racing in the championship here in the UK for 2 or 3 weeks. He's only had 2 or 3 meetings at this point, but he's now beginning to score some points home and away, and that bodes well, I think, for the run into the end of the season.
with Kyle Bigley. This is how Glasgow riders warm up. Kyle, go, do it. That's called team bonding.
The year's been okay so far for the club. Well, it's been fantastic.
Obviously Paul got hurt riding in the British final, and that's had quite a serious impact on the team. You know, all the Glasgow fans know how good he is, and he rides in a false average.
Obviously myself, I've got two broken wrists now because of the British final, but hopefully I can come back and finish strong and hopefully bring something to the club. I think they deserve that this year.
Started off quite well, had a few little problems machinery wise, so you've got something to look forward to go home to. It's not end of my world if I have a bad meeting, like a bigger picture to look at, so yeah, it's kind of opened my eyes that kind of way.
We also unfortunately had to let James Sargent go. It's something that really was difficult for us, because James, and he's a personal friend of both myself and Peter Fazena, and it was difficult to let James go, but James' form had really dipped off.
It's not been my best season. I feel like I could have done a lot better than what I have done. When you're not scoring, there's always that kind of thought that you're going to get sacked, and it's your job at the end of the day. No one wants to get sacked. It's a tough sport at the end of the day. We all know what we're involved in, and unfortunately that's how it is.
With James leaving, I think we just had to take it as it went, because at Speedway, we all knew anyone can leave the club really. Unfortunately for us, it was James. I'm happy for James to find a new club, but unfortunately it's Edinburgh.
Worked out okay for me. I've walked straight into another team, which isn't a bad thing. It keeps me racing and keeps me race fit. I feel a little bit more, this is kind of more a technical track, but I can get more in on my advantage, so obviously it'll kind of build my confidence a little bit more, and get me ready for next season.
It's a bit of a shame, because James has gone on to go to Edinburgh. He's done reasonably well. I wish him all the best. He's still a good mate of mine. We still have a good laugh and a joke about it, but sometimes tough decisions need to be made, and that was a hard one. I brought Mikael Anderson in, Sam Jensen. Sam's never ridden in the UK. We can see he's got bags of talent. He's got to take some time. Any new rider coming to UK takes a bit of time to settle.
I think we've been unlucky with injuries. With Starkey, I think he's a big miss for us really, because I think he's a really good rider. We can only take meeting by meeting really, but I think there are possible is win the league hopefully. That would be brilliant for us to win the league. Hopefully we can really.
Yeah, so here down in Eastbourne, took about 8.5 hours to get down here. Sort of cruised down last night and hit the road, jumped on the motorway and had a few stops, got the boys some to eat, head to the travel lodge, got a bit of rest, and then got up this morning and started again. Just got ready for the racing. I sort of spend my life revolved around Speedway, which is, which I don't really mind, because I love the sport, and got private tutored, just so I could, ride Speedway full time in 2 leagues. So I missed out on prom and doing my GCSEs and everyone with my mates and everything, and missed out on the parties and whatever else. But yeah, I mean, it is difficult because you always the odd one out, seriously. But all the drinking and stuff only lasts for a few years, and then you've sort of got to move on and get a job, proper job, a career. So I was started it early, and definitely rather be at Speedway than in some club somewhere or whatever. Definitely hoping for the win for the boys. A lot of us haven't been here this season or at all. It's going to be hard, but any points we can sort of grab and take back to Glasgow will be be perfect.
I was there with my wife and 2 of my kids, and it's the first time I've been at a speed meet. I felt intimidated.
So we turned up and we were so excited. We were going on holiday the next day on a cruise, which is the reason we really went. I don't think we would have travelled that far because it was such a long journey. And we had walked down to the Fourth Bend next to where the pits were, and we were looking and we were like, who are those people in Glasgow colours? And then we were like, that's like Klaus and Mikael and everyone like that. They're not even changed yet. And we thought, what's going on? And I remember going down talking to Peter and stuff, and like, oh, they're not happy with the track, but we're getting it sorted. And I was like, don't tell me I've came all this way and the meeting's going to be off, come on.
On that meeting, he had 2 young boys, Kyle and Connor, who haven't ridden at Eastbourne before. He had Mikael, who was just back, who had joined the team to replace James Sargent. He hadn't ridden in the country for a couple of years. He's got 3 young, unexperienced riders who hadn't ridden that track. So that guy went out there and went, this isn't safe for these 3 guys. I'm not putting my team at risk. So I don't see why you should get criticised for that.
Yeah, it's good. The referee can see what everyone else can see, apart from a few people that obviously look at different things up north. So that's the way it goes. We can't allow this distraction to take away from the fact that we've done everything we can this week. I'm just going to apologise if I'm starting upset, but it's just due to someone with the same surname as me in his face. I don't understand it. I honestly do not understand it. I'm seeing, I just cannot see what they are seeing. People digging holes as if a Speedway bike would dig a hole. A Speedway bike goes across the surface, it doesn't get into it. It's not a JCB. We've had more holes going by feet than we've had in bikes in 10 years. Half an hour or so. It just seems really pathetic, actually.
So there was 7-8 of us standing watching the meeting, and they'd came out and they were doing the parade a little bit delayed because of they were unhappy about the track and stuff, a little delayed, but the announcer was like, so the Glasgow Tigers, and it was just boos.
Tigers of Glasgow!
I remember thinking, like, not even race yet. I was like, what have they honestly done wrong? Me being me, I was like, you boo, I'll just cheer louder.
We're all human and everybody has that breaking point.
All the chaos happened.
Well, my understanding is that Craig and Klaus have both appealed their bans. So in order to do that, they had to pay a fee, and it will now go to an SCB court hearing, which they'll get 4 weeks' notice to attend. So from a club point of view or a personal point of view, I was surprised, because I accept that the riders could have behaved a bit better, nobody's disputing that, but from what I know at this stage, there has been no sanctions or fines of any sort against Eastbourne, because as you know, I was there, and certainly Eastbourne are to blame for part of this. Ultimately, the guys raised track concerns, they should have been dealt with, and had the referee said, away you go, the track's fine, boo us all you like, but the referee agreed that the track needed remedial work, so there was nothing wrong with what our guys had been stating. But clearly the fans didn't hear any of that, because all the fans were told was what was coming out over the PA system. So if their appeal's not successful, or if they're not allowed to appeal or whatever, then potentially we've got to race 3 fixtures this weekend without Klaus and Craig, which, given that we've got 2 brand new riders in teams, going to be challenging.
Glasgow Tigers versus Leicester Lions. It's going to be a really difficult match tonight. Leicester have got a very, very good team. Obviously, Stuart Dixon, former Glasgow team manager and owner. Got to be honest, I haven't spoken a lot to Stuart in the last sort of year and a half. I still haven't spoken to him at all, but I don't think there's any bad blood, personal on a personal level. But what there is a desire to win, and from both camps that's huge. But as it's been already said, we're a group, we're a team, and we win and lose as a team, and that's what we're going to do.
What are we doing?
FTL.
Match to be won, a league to be won. It's all in their own hands.
Let's do it, boys.
Usual. What is it? Oh, FTT. FTT.
a lot of rain. Forecast not looking the best, so we're going to definitely get the covers down. Hopefully the forecast change, get it prepped up. But listen, it's a weather game, isn't it? Play by the weather. The weather's bad, not a lot we can do about it. Right now, forecast not great. A lot of puddles on the track this week. Been in every night this week. 4-5 hours every night.
The Scottish weather, every week's different. One week we're battling to try and keep the dust down. The other weeks we're trying to stop the track turning into a swamp. The Scunthorpe meeting was a hard one. That was a hard one. Struggled to get the track to the way that we wanted. It just set the vibe for the rest of the night. Frustrating from the track staff because we knew the track wasn't perfect. You feel partly to blame for the track, but then at the same time you know that our riders didn't step up, and I think that's probably been one of the hardest nights for me.
Right, guys, I just want a 5-minute chat. First of all, to apologise and to thank you for riding that tonight. It's nobody's fault. We rolled the dice on the track. We knew, as I said, we were running out of fixture dates. We had to try and get it on. We rolled the dice and it didn't work out. So I apologise the way it was. But what I don't want to do is get our heads down. This is far from over for us. This will make winning the league even sweeter, the fact that we've had this setback. So there's still all to ride for.
Like I said at the start of the season, consistency is key.
Yeah.
Obviously that wasn't the consistent track that we normally have. And it showed what happened.
And don't take it out on Chris, because literally that guy has busted his arse to try and do the best he can. Let's just put this one behind us and go at it again and start again next week, alright?
I'd love to see us winning our title, but personally speaking, I just want us to survive. I went to my first Speedway match in 1968 in White City with my dad and loved it then, and then strangely lost it for 20 odd years, and only when they came back to Ashfield I got my love back with the sport, and basically I've been there ever since. I'm a baggage handler at Glasgow Airport and I have been for the last 20 odd years. I get the time off whenever I need to go and do my Speedway because I love the away matches probably more than I do the home ones now. But, well, the first one that went round it was Mr. Collins there, Les. So Les, and that was my boy. He's 27 now. That was him then. George Stansel, James Cockle, and Greg wasn't in obviously. Shane Parker, Jamie Birkinshaw, Sheffield. Shane with the family came up one day. Myself, first time ever went round for George Stansel's, trying to raise money for George, and then Anders Anderson, Mitchell Davey and Shane. Well, that was what they did, a 2-page spread in the Sun way back in the day, of me going round the track and building it and all that, and then latterly my ride and slide day at Ashfield. So yeah, I've done a few. That was the last one, was Robert McNeil and Josh Grigonic. They were out here now. That was when I played football. That was when I was still playing football in the days.
When Les came to the house, he says, "I recognise that bike." And I says, "How come?" He says, "I built it." He actually built the damn thing.
So basically that was, so we got fuel in the thing first. This only is just straight petrol, this one, it's no methanol or anything. Petrol. Look at all the, just get as much as I can in it to last. I've got a new neighbour over there and he was looking at me the other day with, "What in the name are you doing?" The track was actually one mad moment at Somerset when I ended up, I've got a bit of ground there, I'll just dig that up and I'll make a track out of it. One thing led to the other. Before I knew it, I had a track,
So it was a bit weird. Oh, that's what I'm meant to do. Two of them got like that normally.
It's fast, it's exciting, it's dangerous, it's fun. When you're up close to it, you realise the speed that these guys are going at when they brakes. And as you witnessed today out my track, I love it.
That's the right, let's do it. You're coming off the bike at the front, you're turning that way, the back end naturally comes round. It's mental when you get going, it's so much fun.
Thank you, good night. See you on Saturday. And at the end of that sequence, Tigers unbeaten. Job done.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been a good few days. We obviously had the setback against Scunthorpe, and mostly because of, not to take anything away from Scunthorpe, but mostly because of the track. But to bounce back from that and go and certainly go and beat Redcar, who are one of the favourites to win the title. So it's been really successful, and just as we always say, a big massive thank you to the track guys. They just, nobody realises the hours these guys put in over here in midnight most nights. And
Safely in the playoffs, and we now await our fate. Stuart Dixon and Leicester have first pick of their opposition. What's your thoughts on the permutations for the playoff semis?
Well, I mean, that's what we set out to achieve every year. We want to make those playoffs, and then whatever we achieve after that as a bonus. Clearly we want to win the league. We've always wanted that since the day we took over the club. But yeah, it's great that we can get to those playoffs and have the extra meetings, and this year try and go one step further.
All the stuff we have inherited it. Some people have been great. So we're hoping next year we'll be able to get his own bike covers and his own set of Kevlars. So we've got an old Glasgow pair just now. So Speedway mum, nurse and trainee mechanic. We'll get there. There isn't any manuals you buy as to how to even start or whatever work with a Speedway bike, so we're kind of learning.
Quite difficult because it's not like a popular sport, but there's so many riders at different levels.
And your heart kind of does sit up here a wee bit, but at the same time I've grown up with bikes all my life. I was on a bike when I was about 3. We've done as much safety things as we can. He's got everything.
Leave nothing in the tank.
Come on, boys. This is the big one. Come on, let's get in there.
Who's it?
Razzie.
FTR, isn't it? FTR.
FTR. Okay, boys. Kyle.
To not have Speedway in Glasgow would be devastating to so many people. There's people whose whole life is centred around this club, and everything they do and everything that they think about on their social media is that when you see them all their lives, all they're talking about is the Speedway and the Tigers and all that, and it would be devastating to those people.
I think all the supporters, they wouldn't have anything to do, really. It's a life. I don't know what more they can do to try and get the people through the door.
I think there would be a riot.
Let the gates close.
I spent such a long part of my life half expecting that might happen one day. I daren't allow myself to think of a future without Speedway here in Glasgow.
And that's why when Jerry does say, can we help out, we do it because you think you don't want it to die, you don't want it to be not there for something that we can all go as a family and we can enjoy it, and it needs the support and it needs the fans to all stick together, which Glasgow do. They'll rally round and do what they can to help.
I hope the sport continues in UK as we know it. Deep down inside, I think it will do. Talking about my own club, I want it to go from strength to strength. I think we're riding on the crest of a wave with the owners that we have. But the actual club itself is such an important part of a lot of people's lives. It's a huge part of my heart. Being involved as team manager, I want to win things for the club. That's my ultimate goal. I certainly wouldn't do the job that I do, team manager for Glasgow. I don't get paid to do it. I do it because I want to do it, and because I was lucky enough that Fazenas asked me to do it. I wouldn't do it for anyone else because it's an honest club, and that's what makes a difference in sport to me.
It is like a family, and they're all bonded by the Speedway. That's the centre point. It would be a massive loss to the local area, but particularly to the fans and to the people whose lives essentially focus around this.
No collusion before the meet starts. Keep separate.
Right, boys, come on.
Come on, let's do this. Job to be done.
In there, Paul. Come on, boys. FDR. Come on, hey.
I'm Sam Norris. I had a crash here in June the 16th in Heat 23.
That's right, and we've come back today to just to visit the track, trying to get our heads around what happened and just a bit of closure. And we've been to the hospital also today where they took care of Sam after his accident.
Yeah,
So
to say thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, and to say thank you to Peter in person as well, and to all the fans, but we're going to hopefully see them at Leicester. To say thank you to them for all the support they've given us as a family, and to Sam. It's something that I think will help Sam move on, because Sam has got no recollection of anything, or for the first 5 weeks afterwards. So I think it will help Sam process everything.
He's made a fantastic recovery in record time.
And that's because of his determination.
To get back on.
To get back on the bike.
Can't forget that.
No, can't forget that bit, can we? No.
We're in the final we wanted to be in, and it's, the nerves are kicking in for me. I think the team are a little bit nervous, but in a good way. Thoughts are just to try and keep it close, the first leg down here, and hopefully we can get a good result to make Tuesday really something to focus on. But I think the hard work has to be done tonight, and the boys know that. They seem to be very up for it. But Leicester are a formidable team, so we have to respect that, and it can go either way, but we will be trying, as always, 110%. It means a lot to me to get to this stage, but to be honest, I don't even want to think about losing, because you know me, it means the world to me. It's everything. My poor fiancée has been Speedway daft all year. We've come down to the 2 matches that we wanted to be in, and Somerset semi-final, I'll admit now, I was actually shaking in the second leg. That's how much it means to me. I'm a passionate guy, I hate losing. I got on quite well with Craig Cook, because he's the same kind of character, he hates losing. We're winners at Glasgow, we want to be winners. There's only one team can win though, and we'll get 2 very good teams here, so let's hope we can do it.
double whammy, because obviously I'm desperate for everything to run smoothly, and me and Robin and David and other people that kind of organise that sort of stuff, you know, we've got a lot to do and a lot to manage, a lot to make sure it goes smoothly, but also the result is massive. You know, it's something that you can tell online and everywhere, like the fans are just so buzzing, there's so much hype, there's so much excitement, and it's just, yeah, you can't help but kind of get caught up in it. I know, I'm glad I'm not a rider, because I couldn't cope with that level of you know, hype built around it. But I think 12 points is right on that line of where it could happen, but at the same time it would be impressive to happen. I think any more, I'd be saying no chance. Any less, you know, if we maybe came with maybe 8-point deficit or something like that, I'd be thinking, you know, we're in a good position here, but 12's right in that line. We'll see what happens. I think, as everyone said, you know, I've had about 15 conversations with different people about, you know, talking heat by heat, if we win this one, but then if we get this one, and then if he does this, and then if he does that. But as you know, you can't predict anything in this sport, you know, you can't.
It's been an absolute privilege having you guys riding for the Tigers this year. Consider you all as friends now, you'll be friends forever. This means a hell of a lot to this club. The club's been going nearly 75 years, and in that time we've won the league 3 times. And every Tigers fan out there can name every one of the riders that won the league 3 times. So you can be legends for these fans, you can be heroes for these fans. You know, you're in a real privileged position. These nights don't come along very often. You know, every kid wants to grow up and be a professional sportsman. You guys are there, you guys are doing it. You know, and you know, as long as you go out there and put your bodies in the line, and you can look each other in the eye after this and say that you could do no more, that's all you can do. That's all you can do. Yep. We need to fight for every single point we get tonight, and you know, no last places, fight for everything, and we'll get there. I know you guys can do it. I wouldn't swap any one of you for anyone in their team. So let's go out there and do yourselves proud, and let's fuck the Lions. Yeah. Let's do it, boys. Let's walk out as a team. Let's walk out as a team. Get strips on, let's do it. Boys, let's do it. Enjoy it, boys, eh? Enjoy it. Enjoy it, boys, eh? Don't drip over the thing.
absolutely gutted. When we lost Heat 14 and we knew we couldn't do it, if you'd seen in the pits, Klaus and I had Klaus is a man like me, he's very emotional, and we both had a good cry. It means that much. We'll come bouncing back. This club under the Fazenas is a different animal. We'll come bouncing back next year. Just absolutely gutted that we couldn't give the fans and the club what we were really trying for. For me, it'll take me a long time to go over this, but we'll rise again. The club's been the club as a club's been in a lot worse places in the past. 5 or 6 years ago there wasn't going to be a club. We've got a wonderful club, a wonderful stadium, the best fans in the business and in the whole entire league, and that's proven fact. Leicester acknowledged that tonight, that they've never had a support travel so far. I think this club deserves something more as well. But we'll get it one day, and I will burst my ass till that day comes. Trying to get this club that title. I just want to say thanks once more to the fans and the management. Absolutely gutted.
It was pretty tough to take, to be honest with you. I think we got so close, and I suppose for me it was the nature of how we lost. Yes, luck played a part, as it does in Speedway, between the engine failures that we had and different bits and bobs. It was sore, but you quickly get over things, and then you just start being positive again and think that the racing's been phenomenal. We're growing our fan base. In our time at the club, it's the best bond we've ever had between the supporters and the fans and the riders. It's been incredible. From a Tigers fan, I suppose that's really positive, but I want to win ultimately. We set out to win, and that's what we do every year. So it was disappointing, but we take a lot of positives from it, and it just motivates us to come back even stronger, to be better prepared, to have a stronger, fitter team, to up everything we do, up our game again, and just give it another crack and see how it goes. I suppose to round it off, we put out a statement on Facebook. So this was from Jerry and I. Now that the dust has settled in last night's defeat, there are just a few things we'd like to say. Firstly, to our 2019 riders, Craig Cook, Rasmus Jensen, Klaus Fissing, James Sargent, Luke Chessel, Michael Anderson, Sam Jensen, Kyle Bickley and Connor Bailey and Paul Stark. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you guys. We came so close and had some great laughs along the way. You rode your hearts out last night, but in Speedway sometimes you need a bit of luck to come your way, and over the 2 legs we just didn't get that. Thanks also to the riders' mechanics. Congratulations to Stuart Dixon and the Leicester Lions Speedway team, who were very consistent throughout the season. To all our volunteers, of whom there are far too many to name, the special place that we call home simply couldn't function without you and all that you freely give, so thank you. To our team manager, Cammy Brown, few are as passionate about our club as you are. You should be immensely proud of what you have achieved this year and what was your first year of selecting the team. Thanks also to club promoter Michael Max for his supporting role. A special mention must also go to Alan Dick, Michael's fellow promoter, who works tirelessly behind the scenes to keep the wheels turning. Finally, to our fans, who without question are the best fans in British Speedway. You make it all worthwhile. Together we have created a very special place at Ashfield where the future is very bright. Thanks to your passion and warmth, year on year we're growing our fan base by around 100 fans, with new faces appearing every week. We will continue to strive for success and to be the best at everything we do, both on and off the track. Speedway in Glasgow is alive and kicking.